Welcome. Thank you for joining. Always nice to see our familiar faces. Hi, Caitlin. Hi, Jessica. Hey, Judy. Awesome. Thank you. Thank
Hi,
you for letting
Judy.
us know. Great. So, this is something new that Melanie and I are doing together, and we're so excited about it. Like, I could not sleep last night. I was thinking about this conversation. And then this
Because we were
morning,
texting each other.
right. And then this morning, I texted Melanie at like 5:30 in the morning when my husband was leaving for work. And I was like, I'm gonna go back to sleep. But I kept thinking of things and I kept, making little notes and texting her again. I know I texted you like 2:30 in the morning, but I was hoping that, assuming your phone was gonna be off and you would see it when you got up.
And I did. And I waited to text Violet. And as I was waiting, she literally texted me at 5:30.
Yeah, yeah. Do you normally get up that early at 5:30? Is that like normal for you?
Oh, me? I
Yeah.
usually get up at 4:30 or 5. I got up at 4:30.
Yeesh. Too early.
Yes, Caitlin and I also text each other a little early. It's like
Yeah.
4:30 in the morning and we're sending each other little texts.
No. Oh gosh, no. I stay in bed till at least 8 o'clock, and I usually sleep till then. Like I have my alarm set so I don't sleep through work for like 8:45 a.m. But I usually wake up at like 8:15, and then I just lay in bed till 8:45. Good life.
Hey, Dina.
Hi, Tina. Oh, what just clicked? I have to lower the volume on something. Give me 1 second.
Hi, Marta.
I shut everything off. Oh, I didn't put my do not disturb on. That's why. All right. Let me do that. Okay. All right. So we're just gabbing while we're letting people come in. Say hello. Let us know where you're from. If you want to share, I know some people don't want to say where they are. I promise I won't stalk you if you do, though. So I'm in New York. I'm Violet. Melanie, I'll let you introduce yourself too.
I'm Melanie Underwood. I'm also in New York. I'm what, 40 minutes south of you?
Yeah, probably, right? 40, maybe 45. Although now we're both in New York City because my Insight Timer profile defaults to New York City. It won't allow me to say where I really live, which is in Putnam County. Hey, Gloria, you're in New York. What part of New York are you in? Jessica in Massachusetts. Oh, Jennifer, I'm glad you love this topic. We're so excited about this topic. Riverdale, my mom lives right next to you. My mom lives in Van Cortlandt Park. Well, not in the park, but
I'm glad you're clarifying.
Yeah.
And I live like 15 minutes from Riverdale.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. In fact, I
Oh my
felt
gosh.
guilty when I went to visit you because I was literally 10 minutes from my mother's house. And I was like, I'm not going to go see her.
Oh my God. I actually am going to have, I'm going to start, Violet knows, Violet came, but Violet and I met when she read my newsletter. And in my newsletter, I said, I always invite people over. So if you want to come over. And she did. And that's how we first met each other. And then I had my cancer diagnosis, and I actually haven't had any since then. But I'm going to restructure those and I'm going to do conversation ones that are earlier in the day. So maybe Gloria can come and you can take a morning off and come. And they're going to be, I don't know
a,
what I'm going to call it. I'm thinking about calling it,
a morning, like what? How early?
oh no, like 10 a.m.,
Oh, okay.
like 10, like brunchish, but it also might be on a Friday.
I eat
And
brunch at 1, though.
a melody brunch.
Hi,
And I'm
Blossom.
going to call it the gathering table, I
I
think.
love that. I love that.
It's
That'll
going to
go.
be just about conversation skills.
Gloria says no one would probably know Riverdale in the Bronx. Oh, Gloria, I learned how to drive in Riverdale. Like I took my driving, went to a driving school because we didn't have driver's ed. I went to Walton High School right there in the Bronx, and I took my driving lessons in Riverdale. So I learned how to drive underneath the elevated train, and I learned how to park in that mess of traffic. So if you've survived that, you're a good driver, and I think that I am.
Hi, Blossom Violet.
Hello, Blossom Violet. Another one who I chat with sometimes in the middle of the night because she's in Australia and we're in the US, so we're on totally different time zones. And if I'm awake at 2 a.m., I know Blossom's like probably making her lunch or something. So that's
I
always
want to
fun.
say something
Yes.
because it's about you and Blossom. that I listened to one of your tracks this morning. It's called A Letter to Myself.
Show
And
you
if you
that.
guys, it's pretty new that you just put it out, but it's an amazing track. And I cried listening to it, but Blossom Violet's music is in the background. I don't know the name of which song.
It is
Oh
the
gosh, you have it.
Yep, it is the Dance of Inner Peace is the song that I use. And I
It is.
cried when I did this track, I cried. I tried 6 times before I could record it without crying because it was so emotional for me. So thank you for saying that. And your review was so beautiful. I cried when I read that too.
Well, Blossom's music behind it was, there couldn't have been a more perfect
Right. Let me
song for that
move
because
move this in between us. There we
it
go.
was really amazing.
Thank you.
Jennifer also cried. Yeah, it was very, it was really
Thank
tugging,
you.
and it was also so relatable. And even if someone didn't go through your exact circumstances, we've all been in that situation where we had that self-doubt.
And you know when I talked to you about it before the track came out and what you said to me and like we were both crying. And it's so true. And the fact that I can talk about it now and not stop crying is how I know that it was so healing for me because up until recently, anytime I talked about the situation with my boys, I would cry. I could never get through that conversation. And writing this letter and reading it, 5 times before I could stop crying and then finally recording it has been so incredibly healing. I want to tell everybody to do it. Yeah, Jessica, listen to it when you get a chance. That's it. It's a letter to my younger self. And yeah, I mean, I probably cried for like an hour. I told my husband about it. I don't think he gets it. I'm gonna make him hear it.
Oh my God, he's gonna bawl if he listens to that.
I hope he does. I think the only time he ever got emotional was when he listened to my track about losing one of our dogs. He was like, "Oh my God, that was so beautiful. I cried." And I was like, "Wow, that really, I'm glad it got to him." But these are the conversations that Melanie and I have, which led us to want to do this live because one of the things that we were talking one day and I was venting. It was I don't even remember what it was anymore. And I was like, "Oh, but I'm being such a bitch." And then I was like, why do I do that? Why can't I just vent without saying I'm being bitchy? And I said to Melanie, if a guy said what I just said, he's just a man and it's no big deal. But women tend to say, "Oh, let me apologize. I'm being bitchy." And Melanie said that's because that's you've been conditioned to do that. And I was like, you're so right. And I was like, and you know what? I'm not going to do that anymore. I'm not going to apologize and I'm not going to feel bad. Like I feel bad if I ask my husband to take out the garbage. Does he feel bad if I clean the house? No.
It is a very interesting dynamic. And I mean, I think anybody that's here that's ever listened to me, I'm often told I'm not relatable because I don't have that. But I actually was telling Violet today, there was an incident where I realized I did. Usually, because my mom, she was an engineer in the 60s and 70s, and my father was 10 years younger than her. So my parents grew up really empowering me. And
That's
I
beautiful.
felt like I could do anything in the universe. Thank you, Jessica.
Yes,
Um,
I have that one too.
um, and so I never felt like I never really apologized, and people do not like that quality in me. I mean, of course, I will apologize if I feel that I've done something wrong, but I'm not like, oh, hey, sorry. I'm not shrinking. That's just not my character. And it's interesting in society because often people have a very strong reaction to me and it's not always positive, right? Because it's this thing I always heard growing up, and not from my parents, but from people, was, oh my God, she's too big for her britches. And I wrote a piece about that. I have a separate business called Tart AF, which is really about empowering women. And that always stuck with me, that everybody always said that to me. And that's a very Southern thing. And if Dina is still in here, she knows what I'm talking about. Because it's like, who do you think you are? You're trying to fill a man's pants, girl.
How dare you, right? And with me, it was a total opposite. My parents, you stay quiet. My mother was like, she was all about, just be quiet, don't say anything. I remember going away to college. Now I'm 100% Puerto Rican, but obviously I don't look it. And I remember going away to college. Before I left, she said to me, "You don't have to tell anybody that you're Puerto Rican because you don't look it. So you could just pretend that you're white." And I was like, why would I pretend that I'm not like that was her thing always, to just hide everything. And I, without realizing, grew up that way. I was an introvert. I didn't speak up. I was quiet. I hid things. I kept some things to myself. Even in my current marriage, I wouldn't even cry in front of him for the longest time because I felt like I couldn't burden anybody. I couldn't speak up. And one of the reasons I became a teacher on Insight Timer, and I tell people this all the time, was to push myself from that place of hiding. I didn't want to be on camera. I didn't want to talk. And I was like, you know what? Feel the fear and do this anyway. And it has given me so much confidence. And now, you got to shut me up sometimes.
That's amazing though. I mean, my parents came at it from very different angles. My father always said, and literally said this, the squeaky wheel gets the oil. And
It's true.
it's very true. And my mother always said, well, you can catch more flies with honey than you can with vinegar. And having this dichotomy of the approach, I really feel that I'm great at integrating both of those because I do approach situations in the sense of which would serve me best. And also now I feel the squeaky wheel gets the oil doesn't work the way it used to
Yeah.
because people do not appreciate that. Although I'm going to say this is an amazing story. I think my car is not old. It needed a new transmission. And so I was like, hey, can I get a loaner? And they said, oh, there's 14 cars in front of you to get a loaner. Now, at the end of the day, it took almost a month for them to get the new transmission, replace my transmission. But I kept asking for a loaner car because I was renting a car. And they said, well, we'll cover up to $50 a day. But in New York, that doesn't work. And I really lost my shit one day on this woman,
Good for you.
like you cannot imagine. And guess what? She said, we don't have any cars. And I said, I don't care. You're going to find me a car and you're going to find it now. And I don't care if you have to go to the president of Lincoln. I drive a Lincoln. She called me back in 10 minutes and said, manager's going to let you take his car. And I said, well, it better be an aviator or above because I want a nicer car than mine. And guess what? It was. And when I went to pick it up, I said to her, you have now taught me that being a dick is how to get what I want.
And it's sad, but it's true. And I used to see that all the time because I was the quiet one and I wouldn't get what I wanted. And the loud people always got what they wanted.
Yes. But I do think there is a balance of getting it, and especially for women, because it can be tricky. And, one of the things that Violet and I talk all the time. I mean, we really do. And we've talked about so many things, but about the looking up to people and the gurus, which we've talked about quite a
Yes.
bit. And also just how to navigate through society, because I do think that women are put in positions that men are never put into. And in many ways, it can be a really unfair advantage. And especially if you are outgoing, assertive woman, you often do get called like a bitch. Taylor Swift has this song called If I Were a Man. And that's like my theme song because I have said that my whole life. If I were a man, I would be president right now because the traits that the rest of people were always trying to, not my parents again, but society was like, girl, you're too much. Go back in your box. They would have been, I would have blossomed if I were a man.
Yeah, and
Yes,
speaking of,
I love that song too.
I don't think I know that song. I'm gonna have to listen to it.
Oh my God, it's amazing. And it's so spot on.
But I was gonna say, and speaking of gurus, that was another thing that Melanie and I had discussed. I was like, everybody's a guru now. Everybody knows everything. And again, for the longest time, if you were a guru, I was like, wow, this person's amazing and they must know what they're talking about and they're an expert and I have to take their advice. And I've come to realize that that's not true. A lot of gurus are they're just making shit up. And they don't necessarily have, all the answers. And you see a lot of people who are looking for answers and will take anything a guru says as, the law, and will give them all kinds of money for coaching. And I'm not saying that all coaches are bad, not at all. There's a lot of good coaches out there, but there's a lot of people too that just want your money. And there's so many people who are so desperate for answers that they're willing to give up their money for that. And that's another thing that we wanted to talk about. It's like, nobody knows you better than you do. Don't,
Yes, and you and
right?
Jennifer said the same thing at the same time. She said you are your own guru,
Yes, yes,
1000%. And I've had a business coach who who really is an expert in her field, and she's amazing. And I worked with her, but I definitely realized along the way it's not. I also, because I really follow my own instincts, I'm not a great client because I listen to me before I listen to you.
that's good.
And one day I shared, at the end of Insight Timer, it's like X number of people, X number of gratitude. And I shared it on my Instagram profile. And she said, nobody cares about that. That's for your own ego. And anytime I would post anything on social media, which I don't really love anyway, but she was heavily critiquing me. And I think it's because an area I do feel not as strong in, I quit posting because I was like, nothing I can do is right. And that's really out of my own character, And I today told you that all of a sudden I realized, because I do have someone I use part-time for publicity, she had said to me, oh my God, make sure that you're getting me these numbers for Insight Timer because it's such great social proof.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden I was like, oh my God, that lady didn't want me posting because she had wanted to be a teacher on Insight Timer and she couldn't get where she was hoping to go.
Jealousy.
And that can be a heavy motivator for people when they're telling you things that you think might be in your best interest, but they're often not.
Yes. I will never forget after I divorced my first husband, well, right when I was divorcing him, I lost a lot of weight. And my best friend said to me, you look really good, but most men still want just really thin women. And I will never be a really thin woman. I will always be a curvy woman, and I'm okay with that. But it made me feel bad. It made me self conscious. I had been feeling so good. I got out of a bad marriage. I had dropped weight. And now I was thinking, oh, I'm still not good enough, and like, what a shitty thing to say. I know she's a good friend, and I know she didn't mean it the way it came out. But I was like, what a shitty thing to say to me. It made me so self conscious for the longest time. And I think that, you know, I kept struggling with my weight. Even though I was at a good place, I didn't think it was good enough. And I couldn't lose any more weight. And I was like, now I'm a failure. I'm a failure because I can't do this because I did everything else. I left the bad marriage. I went back to school. I supported myself. I took care of my kids, but I can't lose weight. So I'm a failure. And I'm like, it's crazy how that one little thing, one little comment could just derail me like that.
Well, our brains are wired to remember the bad stuff and not the good stuff. That's for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I didn't see some of the comments, but I see Marta, and I think you saw, said, I was taught to be polite, not pushy. I've endured mistreatment at work. I tell my mom, you should have raised me to be an ass.
Yes, yes, I agree. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and that's, so this is something I say to you. Like when you said, you said to me, I'm sorry, I'm being so bitchy. And I was like, number one, you're not being bitchy. Number two, we're friends.
Right.
And I was like, and that's what friends are for. And I don't think it is being an ass to ask for what you want and to speak up for what you need.
Right.
That's just being a human.
And that clicked such a light bulb in me when you said that. That's when I was like, you're right.
It's true. But
And in fact, I told you what happened recently with my husband. He bought an ATV and put a snowplow on it because he was so excited and he was going to plow. We live on a hill that is like, you could put a ski lift on it and ski this hill. It's so steep and it's treacherous and it's a little scary. And I'm in the woods. And we used to have a snowplow guy, and him and his aunt decided, she lives at the bottom of the hill, that they were going to fire the snowplow company because they didn't like the way they were doing this work. And he was going to buy a $10,000 ATV and put a $2,000 plow on it. And I was like, I think it's a bad idea. I think you should just find another company. Let me go online. Let me find. No, no, he wanted this ATV, and I knew he wanted it because it's a toy. Let's face it. And I get it. It's a toy. It's a fun toy. But last winter we had maybe 2, 3 inches of snow. It was fine. This winter we get 18 inches of snow, and he goes out there after the 18 inches have fallen, not during, with his ATV and his snow plow. And what happens? He gets stuck, not once, but 3 times. And I'm watching him as I'm working because I work remotely on the camera. And I'm thinking, if he does manage to get some of that snow off, if he gets himself, if he keeps digging himself out long enough, it's going to take him a week because our driveway is 550 feet. We have to plow from here to the road because the whole driveway belongs to his aunt. She owns the property that we live on. So we've got to plow her driveway, our driveway, which goes from the road all the way up to the top of this killer hill. And I was like, there's no way he's doing this on his own. And this is why I didn't want him to buy it. Part of me wanted to, actually, no, part of me did not want to. But in my mind, I'm thinking this is one of those I told you so situations, but I'm not going to go there with him. Instead, while he was out there trying to dig out his ATV, got a bunch of recommendations, found somebody. Of course, he was booked. He came the next day. He did an amazing job. And I paid for it because I'm the one that has, Cash App and Venmo and Zelle. And my husband doesn't like technology. However, I decided that because he has an ATV and he wanted to plow, he owed me $500, which is what I paid. So the old me would have been like, oh, I feel bad. I can't ask him. What do I do? I want the money back. Now I'm angry. So instead, I brought it up to him. And, his aunt owns the property. She usually pays for the plowing. And he's like, well, I don't want to say anything to her because, she paid for the ATV and I feel bad. And I said, oh, then you owe me $500 and I want it back. And he kind of giggled about it. And I was like, I'd take PayPal, Cash App, debit cards, whatever you got. And he still didn't do anything. So the next day, I sent him a payment request through Zelle for $500 and he paid me. And I thought to myself, this is a huge win for me because even 3 weeks ago, I would not have done this. But now I'm like, I'm not going to be quiet because what happens is I get resentful, I get angry. And, I spoke up. He gave me my money. Maybe we have separate accounts, by the way, which is why the money is mine, not ours. Um, but I felt good. And I'm like, it's okay. If he's angry, he didn't say anything, that's on him. I spoke up.
And I think what you just said is so important, right? You spoke up. That's because people ask me all the time, like, how can I get in that space? And it's literally just asking for what you need/want. And I think saying it very matter of factly without a lot of emotion behind it, like without having the anger or the resentment is like super clean cut. And if you can't do that, maybe even writing it, texting it, emailing it is helpful.
Yes,
Because I think people sometimes react if there's emotion behind it,
absolutely.
especially men. Sorry if there's any
It's
men in
true.
here. And I'm making a generalization and I don't care. Um, but just saying it, getting it out, and it's okay to ask more than once and not shudder. And I don't know if you saw what Jennifer wrote. She said, I have a friend who's very sensitive. She shuts down when I'm too much, say too much. I apologized a couple of times. My last apology to her was how I can no longer apologize for being me. I'm sorry you're hurting, but it's not me. And what I tried to point out that I was triggering something in her.
Jennifer, your friend sounds like my husband. He shuts down if I say too much too, which is why for the longest time I wouldn't say anything. And now I'm like, I can't. If I don't say anything, I get angry. And then that makes it worse because now I'm resenting him. He has no idea why. So I get that. And you're
I
right.
also know that when people do that, it can be just like a personality trait because a lot of people do internalize and shut down. But for some people, it's actually a manipulation tactic.
Yes.
And that's a different story. And I'm not saying Jennifer, your friend, was doing that, but people can do it to put you back in your place, make you feel bad. I actually lost a really, really good friend over something very similar. And the irony was so strong. I wish she could hear this right now. She lived with me because I taught in a culinary school and she lived with my husband and I for a couple of months. She, for free, I helped her in so many ways. And then a couple of years ago, she called me one day and she's like, oh my God, people have been telling me I only ever talk about myself. Do you think that's true? And I did think it was true, but I also didn't want to be hurtful
Right? That's
because
hard.
there's a balance. Um, and then I don't remember exactly what I said, but a couple weeks later we were talking and I spoke over her to say something and she goes, "You never listen to me. That's it. I'm done."
Wow.
She got off the phone and that was the last time we spoke.
Whoa.
And I know, and I'm still a little perplexed by that, to be honest, since I didn't really speak over her that much. But that's again like a tactic she employed, and I'm not the only person that I'm sure that she has used that with. But the truth of the matter is, of course, we were friends, and I miss part of our friendship. But I'm in a healthier space without her in my life, and Jennifer, maybe you are too.
And you know, it may come back because the friend who
Yeah,
told me that no matter how much, oh no, the friend who told me that no matter how much weight I had lost, I was still too fat for most men. You know, we didn't speak for years and we're friends again now. You know, we're different people. We've gone through a lot, we've changed a lot. And she knows now not to just blurt out whatever stupidity comes to her mind because she's a she's a good person, but she does say some stupid things sometimes. And I've told her that. I've told her. I said you can be very hurtful sometimes. Like that's just who I am. And I'm like, please don't be that way with me because I will not. I will not put up with it.
yeah. I do think I have a friend who was the same thing, Allison. Allison, when we were like 23, was like, "Oh my God, you've sold out in New York City." And I was like, "If you don't like it, move on." And she did. But we came back together, and I
Exactly.
think I always knew we would. But for me, crossing certain boundaries is a no go.
Oh yeah.
And that was one of them. And I just don't, I actually have zero interest in rekindling our friendship. And I do fully believe like people come and people go
Yeah.
and they may come back. But with that, I just don't. And that's a boundary setting for me. And something that I feel in society that's missing is huge boundary settings. And when people try to set boundaries, that's when it's labeled, "Oh my God, you're being high maintenance, you're being an ass, you're being this, you're being that." And it's like, no, I'm actually just being clear on my boundaries.
And that it's good though that you are clear because that's something I still struggle with. I never want to hurt anybody. So I won't if I think it's going to be hurtful or I won't set that boundary. I'll just disappear. And I've done that with a lot of friends, but again, we've come back. It's like even my brother, like sometimes he can be so rude and I just won't talk to him for like months. And he'll finally reappear and he'll finally it's almost like he gets it, but he doesn't say anything. But now he's nicer and he's not as rude. But recently he made some stupid comments again. And I was like, in fact, I shared them with Melanie. And I was like, I'm just ignoring him because he's being an idiot again. And he knows that I'm not going to engage with him when he's like this. And he's my brother. I can't really divorce him, but I can stop talking to
Yeah,
him.
that's a great idea, though. I'm thinking that's like a whole new level of law. Are there any lawyers in here like that you could divorce your siblings? That could just be hysterical.
Yeah, and I've had to do that with mine because they definitely can cross boundaries, and it's happened a lot in the past. And I've gone years without talking to them, and there were so many times when I thought, well, this sucks, their family. But then I was like, you know what? But my peace is so important to me that I will protect it and defend it no matter what. So I'm like, if you can't, respect that, then you can't be in my life, and that's okay. Mel, you have a brother who's a judge. Oh, you have one of those too. And my brother is like, I don't even know how we grew up in the same household because he thinks, like women should be quiet and, he's got this whole thing about what women should do and shouldn't do. And he just thinks he's really funny and really rude. And his jokes are always at someone else's expense. And when he does that to me, I'm like, I'm not engaging. I'm not doing this.
Yeah. I mean, well, a couple things I also wanted to bring up were like how to empower women, whether you are a man or a woman. And I think, in many ways we're preaching to the choir here because so many people here do that. But I pulled up my notes because as you know, I'm a note taker. Like one of the things that I often do is I will credit other people. And I think that that you've actually said that to me a
Yes.
number of times.
Yes.
And I will, because I'm so outgoing and gregarious and I can in any room talk and talk forever, I might say in a room, for example, "Oh, Violet, what do you think? What are you doing? How can I support you? And I'll do that in a public setting to help people who maybe don't feel as confident.
Which is something I do love about you because I am the type who was always shrinking and I would let other people take credit for whatever I had done and I wouldn't say anything. And, when somebody will say, hey, like you were talking about my track, I'm like, oh, that's, I wouldn't have even mentioned it. Of course, I have it bookmarked, but because I'm so proud of it. But I wouldn't bring it up because it's just not me, or if I've done something, like there are times when I did stuff at work and other people were taking credit for my work and I'd be like, fuck, but I wouldn't say anything. So that's something I definitely appreciate. And that's something I've learned to
Yeah.
stop doing is to stop letting other people take credit for something that I did. And that's hard.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, and that happens. And I don't know if it was Jessica and the last live that we were together when someone wrote in the chat, "Oh my God, Violet, Melanie really brought you out of your shell."
I know exactly who it was, but I'm not going to call her out in case she's here. And
Okay, well,
I wasn't offended by it, but I wanted to correct it. I was like, actually, no, she didn't bring me out of my shell. I brought me out of my shell. And that's huge for me. For me to stand up for myself and say that, I was like, yeah, you've been supportive, you've been amazing, but I'm not giving anybody credit for who I am.
agreed.
Yeah.
Yes, I 1000% agree.
Thank you, Jennifer.
I think that's important to also recognize, right? Like I'm not doing the work for you. You're doing it.
And,
You are
and
the
Jennifer,
reason.
shine is my word for this year, and it's for that reason. Because I literally had an email once, shrinking Violet. That was me.
My
Shrinking
God, I never thought
Violet.
of that.
Yeah, because that was me. I was always shrinking. I was the wallflower, didn't want attention, didn't draw attention to myself. I remember, when I married my first husband, how uncomfortable that was for me to be you're the bride, everyone's looking at you. I was so uncomfortable. And now I'm like, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to shrink anymore. I was also very heavy too, which self-conscious of my weight and all that. That's a whole other story. Oh, thank you, Matt. I love you, Matt. Shine on you, crazy diamond. Matt's he's such a boost for me always. I love that. And oh, by
And
the way,
it's a boost for everyone.
yes, did we not mention the teachers who are in here? Caitlin, Matt, did I miss anybody?
Awesome,
Dina,
Violet, Dina.
Blossom Violet. Why did I think I had already mentioned Blossom? It's because Blossom is
You may
my
have.
Blossom is my
Just
twin.
giving her another shout out
Yeah, absolutely.
in my amplification.
We were having a funny discussion this morning, Blossom and I. We call each other twins because we have the same name. We have a lot of similarities. I think our husbands have the same name, or is it? No, I think maybe it's her son. But anyway, I was talking to her about ChatGPT, and she asked ChatGPT who we were, and ChatGPT said we were the same person. And the whole conversation with ChatGPT was just hysterical. For those of you who use it, it's just funny to engage with sometimes. But the fact that it said that we were the same person, it said that Blossom Violet was a spiritual teacher, and Violet 108 was a character she created. And I was like, that's hysterical. So again, ChatGPT, thank you for taking away the credit for me being who I am. Yeah, it is hysterical. It's hilarious.
And Jennifer is a teacher too. We forgot to mention her.
Jennifer, which Jennifer?
Doherty.
Oh, Jennifer. I'm sorry, Jennifer. Yes. I saw another Jennifer in the chat and I wasn't sure who you were
There's a
talking.
couple of Jennifers in here.
Yeah.
ChatGPT is often mostly incorrect. Oh my
Matt,
God, AI gets it
Matt,
wrong all the time. Don't listen to AI, people.
Matt says Blossom runs the simulation. Yes, she does.
Oh my God, that's funny. Okay, can I go back to my notes? I'm sorry.
Yes, no. Go ahead, because no, listen, I want you
teacher.
to go through your notes because I made notes and I did not pull them up. So now I'm like trying to remember what was in them. So please, one of us has structure. Go for it.
Help it. I mean, this is also like can be very annoying for people that I'm like, I sit in the front row and I'm like, me. I know.
No, that's fine.
This is like, I think if you have a business, I think this is an amazing way, or even like if you're in like a teacher or Insight Timer teacher, tag and give women credit, work publicly on social media. I'm not just DMing. Like I do that on LinkedIn because LinkedIn is such a great platform and I try to share other people's work on there. And I think because that can boost someone's business. I'm going to tell a quick story. And
You know, I'm a
I was
big
at a
believer in boosting other people too. Go on.
I was networking at an event. I met a woman and she was telling me about her business. She has a couple businesses. And so it was very interesting. But then fast forward, the meeting is over almost. And the people that run it say, did anyone learn anything interesting today? And no one raised their hand. And I had learned something very interesting, but I didn't know if it was appropriate to say at the
Mm.
meeting. So she's like, wow, we're just that stuck that we learned nothing. So I raised my hand and I said, well, I learned something quite shocking today, but I don't know that if it's appropriate because this is like a conservative group of business owners. And I would say 75% of them were men. And she's like, no, no, share. We want to know. We want to know. And I said, well, I learned that this woman has a business and that you can get a shot as a woman to increase your orgasm. And right? Exactly. And oh my God, every man was like, does that work for us? But she emailed me the next day and she got 8 clients out of that.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah. And she was like, that little thing that you did. And I didn't even think about it. Like I wasn't doing it to boost her business. I was just telling, right, a story. And she is like, holy crap. And people still remember her now because of that one comment. I mean, of course, because it was about sex
Yeah, of
that
course.
happened, but it still made a difference in a really enormous way. And something I actually really do, and this is again business
We
related,
know
but
sex sells.
yes, we do know that. Dina said, I'll take 50 shots to go. Funny. I always say to people in a business setting, women, like, is there a way that I can support you? Is there a person you want to meet? What
That-
can I do to help you?
That's awesome.
But those little simple things, especially like in business, I think because in business, women don't get as amplified.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. And like I said, I'm a huge believer in boosting other people. I also feel like for me, having been such an introvert and all that, that helping other people helps me too, you know, like if that makes any sense. Like that's been so healing for me being on Insight Timer. Like everybody knows I have a full-time job during the week and I do this because I love it. And you know, I used to go on Insight Timer and I would see all these teachers and I was like, wow, it'd be so cool like if we could introduce them to other people because some of them even now like I was saying the teachers who make Spanish tracks, they don't get a lot of exposure on Insight Timer and I am trying to reach out to some of the Spanish teachers to see if we could do a live together collaboration where they can introduce their work. Because this one teacher, Siba, I started doing his course in Spanish. You know, obviously, if you don't know Spanish, it's not going to help you. And I loved his course so much. And I'm like, I bet you most people don't even see, whether they're Spanish speakers or not, don't even see this material. And it's, you know, it's got to get out there. And that was, you know, that was what led me, well, not led me. Of course, I wanted to be a teacher because I wanted to be heard, I wanted to be seen, and I wanted the confidence. And I finally have that. But then once I got in here, I loved engaging with the other teachers. And I was like, how can we interact, you know, more and see people more? And that's like it's been amazing for me. It's been a great experience. I've learned a lot. You know, I've learned a lot from other teachers and I've learned a lot about myself. And, you know, not everything resonates and that's okay. And that's where I've learned that I don't need a guru too.
I mean, do you remember you called me and you were like, I had this idea in the shower. You're
And
like,
I
I
was
think,
afraid. I was afraid to do it.
yeah. And now you're like the only one really that can do OBS and all that other crap. I
And
mean,
I
sorry.
love that.
Um, Jennifer said, I think it's awesome when women collaborate, such as you are today, and there's so many silos. Yes, women want to do their own thing, but together we're stronger and brighter. Ellen said, see, I know I could help with a lot of admin stuff when I'm isolated at home with illness. It's nice you both think about all that stuff.
Yeah.
Hi, Monica. Monica said hi.
Hello. Yeah, I haven't been looking at the chat because I've got so many windows open right now.
Yes.
So I'm like, all right, let me look at the chat. Let me go back and look at the chat. I'm dual
Sure.
streaming because I decided that one of the things I do when we go live is I have to, because in order for us to collaborate, we connect via Zoom. We take Zoom and we put it into OBS. Uh, OBS then goes into Insight Timer, which is how we were able to do this. But then I have to download the live. I upload it somewhere else because I want the replay. Hopefully someday Insight Timer will give us a video and we can host replays here, but we can't right now. So I was like, how can, I love tech, I'm a geek. How can I skip a step here? So right now I'm dual streaming in another platform where the replay will be instantly available and it'll cut out some of my work. And I don't know why I'm sharing that other than I'm a geek. Come on.
But we had talked about, in case people couldn't hear also.
That was why.
Yes, you have a lot happening.
Yes, I've got like 1, 2, 3, 4, like 5 windows open right now. So every now and then I look at the chat. I don't want anybody to think I'm ignoring them.
Yes, and that's also, I mean, for my own lives, I love reading comments out loud. It's just something I love to do because to me, it makes it feel like more of a
Yes.
community.
Yes, me too. Me too, but when I multitask, it's hard for me to do that.
Yes.
So if you want to read the comments, feel free.
Yes.
I know I'm missing a
Well,
lot of them.
Ellen said there's a lot going on. There is.
There is a lot going on. But I'm a tech geek and I love it. And yesterday, I think I spent about 6 hours testing to make sure this could work. And then it was slowing down my computer. So then I had to fix that. And then I was going live somewhere doing a test. And I looked horrible, by the way. I had on no makeup. My hair was a mess and I'm on camera. Something else I've gotten over. And Matt shows up and I'm like, hey, Matt, I'm so glad you're here. And how's the sound and everything? I love doing that kind of stuff. Again, total geek. It's nothing I'm getting paid for. It's just something that I love to do. I mean, I have a full-time job, thank goodness, that pays me well. And I work remotely, which is wonderful. So the time I would be spending commuting, I spend learning more tech. Oh, Dina. Dina left me a message. One of the tests that I did, I don't even know, Dina, was it like 30 seconds long? I made one comment. I was like, oh, that's what that is. I was like talking to myself. And Dina leaves me a comment. Thank you for that. I don't know, enlightening 20 seconds long. And Dina, when I read that, later on, because it shows you someone left a comment, I was laughing so hard I was crying. I had to text Dina. I was like, thank you for making me laugh. That was hysterical. And I forgot that I had left that video up, so I deleted it. But yeah, I wasn't expecting an audience. I was just testing it out, but you can't test it without going live. And I was like, oh well, what the heck. Thank you for saying I looked fine, by the way. I was having a bad hair
That
day.
on Insight Timer or the other platform?
The other platform.
Okay.
Because the other platform, in order for me to test it, I went live on the other platform. Did you see that too, Blossom? It was funny. It was fun. It was fun though. It made me laugh so much. And it was so cool when Matt came on. And Blossom, I was talking to Matt when I was testing that other thing. We have to test it with the musicians to see how the sound is. Because, Insight Timer has been having issues with sound, which are hard. And hopefully they'll get it fixed eventually. But it's a nice backup to have. Jessica. Jessica, you're making me laugh. And yeah. Blossom, I'm always multitasking. My brain naturally multitasks, which sometimes is a little exhausting. But it's a good thing.
So I'm just curious if you are here, or how do you amplify someone? How do you, or are you looking for tips? I mean, I've got my list a mile long. I kept my list separate. I have business and friends.
Yeah.
And
That's a great question. How do you amplify someone, or how do you amplify yourself, or do you want to be amplified?
Jessica said, she does. She said, I always shout out people I love. I don't always get notifications on Instagram, and then I'll see like that Jessica shared something of mine. Yes, you could amplify yourself more.
Bring them food. Yes, Ellen.
Yeah, that's true. And that's on my like friend list, but also like I think that I actually excel at the friend ones. Like I'm so great at, and I'm going to also say this. I learned a long time ago. It's not bragging if it's true. And
I like what Dina said, because I feel that it is easy to amplify others, but how do you do it for yourself? If If you have any tips, Melanie.
I do. I think that you think about what you would do for others and say, I'm going to do that for myself. And maybe I'm a list maker. So I would write it down. I would literally set, I'm a goal setter because I'm just strategic. So for me, the only way I'm going to accomplish something is write it down. And Ellen said affirmations, like that's why
Journaling.
I do affirmations on Insight Timer because affirmations are so important to me. When I was a kid, and anybody that's ever listened to my affirmation tracks probably knows this, was like Stuart Smalley when I was like 8 years old, and he didn't exist. Do you know who he is?
No.
Oh my God, on
Oh, wait,
SNL.
wait. Is that? Oh, no, no, no. I was thinking that that Stewart that the kids would take in school and travel.
No, like he's a character on SNL, and he looks in the mirror and he's like, "I'm good enough. I'm smart enough." And that was me at 8 years old. I would be in the mirror and I'd be like, "I am whatever." I
Wow.
think I would tell myself I'm amazing. Yes, and gosh darn it. And whenever I had to, um, I was on the debate team, so I would literally go in the bathroom
Wow.
and look at myself and argue against myself.
I was never a
And
public
looking at
speaker.
yourself when you're doing that is so important because you're literally looking, you're making eye contact, and it's hard for people to do
Very
that.
hard.
Actually, right. It is very hard to look, not for me. But for most people, it's very hard. Yes, Ellen said people love me. That's like such a great one. And at the end of every track, and sometimes at the end, I'll intersperse it. I always say, "Hey, I am a miracle," because I want people to know every person really is a miracle. Like, I'm not just saying that, I really believe that.
I have started my ending all my journal entries with "I am the love of my life," and I got that from Viola Davis, the talk she gave her daughter about how you have to be the love of your own life, and it made such an impression on me that that's how I end all my journal entries now is "I am the love of my life," and just repeating that all the time, like it changed something in me. I can't even explain it. I'm a
I love that.
huge believer in affirmations. And Blossom says I'm inspiring her to multitask. All right. I'm a good role model. I like that. I want to be a good role model. And that's one of the things that Melanie and I were talking about when we talked about doing this. I'm an introvert. She clearly is not. But still, we can be empowered women in different ways, and we can be role models to empower other women. And that's so important to me as someone who spent most of her life shrinking and hiding. Like, I want that for other people. I tell people all the time when I'm here and I'm on camera, I'm like, I'm an introvert, believe it or not. And if I could do it, so can you. And they're like, oh, no, yes, you can. No one was more scared than I was. Trust me. And I'm doing it. It isn't
Right.
bragging if it's true. I like that.
It's not bragging. And I really feel like this is the one thing I can't say enough because I think people are like, "Oh my God, I'm bragging about myself. I'm
I
not being
still feel that way.
humble."
Yeah. I'm
Nobody
always
asked you to be humble,
I'm
people.
always asking people, oh, am I doing this out of ego? Even the stuff I do in Inside Timer, I'm like, oh, sometimes I'm worry I do it out of ego. But Lou Redman did a thing and he said, if you're doing something out of ego and you're accomplishing something great, is that a bad thing? And I was like, you know what? He's right. It's not a bad thing. It's okay. You're setting the example for other people. Jennifer, I
Yes.
like what Jennifer said. Write yourself a letter as Violet did and let it go. Yes. Yes, Jennifer, I can still talk about this now without crying. Definitely that letter helped me to let it go. And I've been carrying this. My kids are 28 and 31. I had been carrying this for so long, like 20 years I was carrying that. And I could not talk about it without crying. And now I can. It's like overnight. I can stop crying now. I can let it go. It's so empowering.
Sometimes also burning the letter for people is very empowering. If
I'm
it's
gonna
something
burn that
negative,
track.
yeah, exactly. Literally and figuratively. No, but if you write a letter, it can be very cathartic to burn it at the end. It's a ritual.
Yes.
Fire is very transformational.
Yes, I agree. Jessica writes, my word of the year is fearless. Part of that is trying to not play small. That's why mine is shine, to stop playing small. Love that. Dina called you a
But Dina,
witch.
I mean, yes, people don't know that about me, but yes, I don't talk about it. I don't need to talk about it.
She doesn't have to. You see it.
You see it.
And it's okay. It's okay
And
to be whatever.
I do want to say the thing about ego because I worked as a chef, and had I not had a big fat personality and a little bit of an ego, I would never have succeeded. So I don't have a negative take on like a moderate ego. I think it can be really healthy. I think it can tip over. I've been known to have a pretty big ego. I don't have a problem with self-confidence, but for the most part, I think that's
And I'm
totally
gonna
healthy.
say it's okay to have an ego. It's the people who throw it in my face that bother me. And you know who I'm talking about when I mention that. There are some people that are so in your face with their ego that I'm like, go away. I mean, I've spoken to people on Insight Timer. I've invited teachers to things and they've been like, well, who's going to be there? And, I don't lend my name to just anybody. And I'm like, okay, that's the kind of ego I can't
Right.
deal with. I don't want to engage with.
I agree with 100%. I'm not like that at all. I'm an equal opportunity person. I'm the same with everyone and believe it's reciprocal.
Yeah. And I think you were the one who said to me actually once when I told you about a conversation with a particular person. I said, this person has such an ego and I don't like it. And you were like, well, ego's not necessarily a bad thing. And you got me to think about it because up until then I was like, yeah, people with big egos suck. And then I don't think that way anymore. I'm like, a little healthy ego is okay, a little, a lot, whatever, because I'm not putting limits on anybody, is okay. You know, I still have a problem with the ones who put that in my face and I'm not going to engage with them, but it's okay.
And I definitely think this, I'm just going to put it out there in this world of whatever you want to call it, wellness, spirituality, there's so much um, that's hard to integrate for people, right? Because a lot of people think, well, if you do this, it should be for free. Why would you charge money? And some people are like, well, it's your gift. You should be giving your gift away. And I just always remind people that people have bills to pay. Gift, no gift, we have bills to pay. Everybody has a bill. So even if you work in this field, you still have to pay your bills, most people, unless you come from a source of income. But that's that's the way it is, right? Like, and people have that weird conflation, and also with the same thing about the ego. And I actually, as soon as I hear someone talking about ego and how it's bad and you shouldn't have an ego, I'm just like, I gotta go.
And
This
I,
is
and
not
I
for
want to
me.
remind people that if you play Melanie's track 3 times, she will get a penny from that. So that's how we get paid. That's how little we get paid for what we do on Inside Timer. You have to have 3 track plays just to earn a penny from a free track.
I didn't
So
know that way.
yeah, so we're not here getting rich. I will sometimes get like $40 from Inside Timer and I'm excited. But thank God I have a good job and it pays me well and I'm so grateful and I broke my ass to get that job. So I don't even say like, "Oh, I'm so lucky," or "I came from money." No. I was dirt poor. I struggled when I divorced my husband. I barely made ends meet. I went back to school. I found a job. I kept switching jobs a lot and found a job that paid for a degree. I went and got my master's. I got the job that I have now that I've had for 8 years. I love that job. Best job I ever had. They pay me well, and I am so grateful. So I'm in a good position where I'm not relying on Insight Timer to, put food on the table, because if I were, I'd be screwed. No offense. But there are
I don't,
people who need, they need to earn an income. And I totally, totally understand that.
but it's not even just Insight Timer. It's anyone who's charging for work sometimes out in their own business. I've heard many people say, like, I can't believe that person's charging for a mindfulness class or a meditation class. And I'm like, well, that is their business. And I have such strong feelings that I think that should actually be a whole live on charging in the business world. I need it to be alive, please.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. I agree. And I couldn't agree more. And then I've seen the other side of that too, where you go on a live and they constantly mention donations and they almost make you feel bad if you don't give. And not everybody can, and we can't give. I donate when I go to other lives, but I can't donate to everybody at every live because, sometimes during the day I may hop into 10 lives. If I gave them all donations, which is what I was doing when they first started doing lives on Inside Timer, you could go broke. There's other ways to support us, listen to our tracks, share our stuff, like I said, listen 3 times. I want that penny. There's many
Well, I
ways.
also think that it's totally fair to ask for donations.
Yes, yes,
Also fair if you don't feel comfortable.
yes.
But I always say that, like, there's other ways to support me other than a donation. And that's Mel wrote in the chat. She has shared my track with many friends. That's actually a huge way to support a
Yes.
teacher. And I'm very grateful for that. Um,
Blossom
Ellen
says it's
says,
1 cent per track. Are you sure, Blossom? I thought it was like one for every three, but it doesn't matter. It's not a lot. I mean, we're not getting rich on that, right?
I'm gonna, you know what? I want to share a way that a teacher really empowered me. You guys all know Grace
Yes.
Booth, right? So I don't remember when it was. I think it was like when right after I'd been on Insight Timer a few months, I think. And Grace sent me a prayer, and she's like, I was called. This prayer came to me. Thank you, Jessica. And she's like, I want you to read it on Insight Timer. And I think that track has like 10,000 or 11,000 plays. And today I went to her live and I was telling my husband, I'm like, I bet you she wishes that she had made this recording and not sent it to me. Um, but that was like an amazing way that she, gave me empowerment. She's like, here, this is something I've channeled that I felt called to give to you.
Which track is it? Let me find it. Tell me which one it is, and I'll pull it up on the screen.
Okay. I think it's called, let me just go look at my, sorry, I don't even have that many tracks. So the fact that I can't remember it is crazy. It's something with prayer for healing. Hold on.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say it's taking a minute for my screen to
I'll look
come
at you,
up,
but
and that's the OBS Zoom mixture that slows down my CPU no matter what I do. All right.
gentle prayer for healing and restoration. Okay. It has 7,100 plays, but still.
7,100. That's amazing. I didn't know that.
And I have a very high return rate. And I would never have, this is not a track I would have done, and that's a real, like, very empowering thing that she gave to me.
Is that it? The one that's featured?
Yes.
They usually feature your most popular one. Yeah, awesome.
Yes.
A gentle prayer for healing and restoration. Nice. Thank God, because I'm slowing down here just trying to pull stuff up. Again, it's I'm taxing the laptop as much as possible. I've got 32 gigabytes of RAM, if that means anything to anybody. And all the equipment to make these lives happen still slows stuff down. I think I'm gonna have to get a supercomputer. Maybe NASA can help me out.
So I know it's almost 5, but I just wanted to ask if anybody else wants to pop anything in the chat. I'm going to just throw out a couple other things if you want to write what you're doing in the chat. I try to write down people's birthdays in my calendar, because then just popping and being like, hey, happy birthday, I think really makes people feel special. It's like a small thing that we can do to make people feel good.
Nikki is
And
asking me, do I keep files in an offline drive? I'm not sure what you're referring to, Nikki. Do I keep files in an offline drive? You can talk to me about that later.
She means your computer stuff.
Or keep a bunch on. No, I don't keep anything on my PC. My PC is clean. It's got like a terabyte of space available. It's just OBS and Zoom together are very taxing. And then when you put that on Insight Timer, it slows down. It draws a lot of, oh, there's my number, 108. It draws a lot of CPU. And I have spoken to Chat GPT in depth about the best way to handle this. And it told me what I was doing was extraordinary. So that was great. Jessica said, yes, go ahead. Read
Go
it.
ahead. Oh, may I ask folks to write one way you can speak about what you do or a positive thing about you in the next week? Who is another woman that you would like to amplify in the next week?
Yeah, I love that.
That's a great question. If people want to write it in there, it's always, I mean, you certainly don't have to, but it's great when you write it.
Yes.
It's a little more concrete. It's journaling here live on Insight Timer.
Manifesting. I say that all the time. When you write it, you kind of speak it into existence. I've done a lot of things that way.
Yes.
I love that.
something else I have on my list that I feel like you and I have talked about, and we talked a little bit about earlier, is challenging another woman's self-talk. When she's like, oh, I'm being bitchy, reminding them that it's not being bitchy, or like, oh, I feel fat, and I mean, I only say things that are sincere, so I wouldn't suggest that you're not saying things that you don't legit feel.
Yeah.
And noticing non-achievement things that I think is really amazing, like someone's kindness, their humor, maybe how they make you feel. This is going to sound ridiculous, but I mean, people comment on my hair all the time, right? And I don't mind it if people like you have great hair, but something that often really happens is people say, I'm so jealous of your hair. And I said to someone one day, I really wish that you would reframe that and say, you have really beautiful hair or whatever. But I said, imagine if you have, because I do get people saying that a lot. And I was like, imagine if you have a person, like at least once a day, tell you that they're jealous of something of yours. That feels like a lot of negativity coming to me. And people don't mean it negative.
No, I've said that to people too. Like, I was talking to Vivian, she's in Arizona at the gem show, and I was like, oh, I'm so jealous. It's just something that I do, but that's a good point.
That's also probably the weather, right? It's not like a physical attribute, but I was like, I wish you would just not say jealous, because that feels not great coming at me all the time.
Yeah. I do say you do have thick hair, and I wish I had thick hair because mine's gotten very
That's also
thin.
different to say, I wish I had your hair. Yes, Nikki said comparisons.
Thank you, Jennifer. Jennifer says we're perfect role models. Thank you. And I don't feel that way. I feel like we're all role models in different ways. You're a role model. I'm a role model. She's a role model. We all have our
Uh,
gifts. And for the longest time, I didn't want to be a teacher because I thought I have nothing to share. I don't have a gift. I don't, I'm not a fabulous cook. I am not a meditation teacher. I'm not a yoga teacher. I was like, what am I going to do on Insight Timer? I got on here with my journaling, my crystals, my cards, because I wanted to be a part of it. Because I thought, wow, if these teachers can do this, maybe I can do this too. And now I love it. So we can all be role models in whatever our strengths are. My strength is technology, to be honest with you. So, it's been great because I've been able to do stuff like this. Which by the way, before we end the live, I want to make sure everybody knows that we have a peaceful pause tomorrow with like 20
yeah.
teachers.
Yes. April, that's beautiful, by the way.
What did April write? I missed it.
April said, I now say you're beautiful to women who apologize for taking up space. I remind women that we are allowed to take up space.
Yes. Yes. I say that all the
Yeah.
time.
You see what Jessica said?
Let's see.
Think about adding the word yet. I'm not a good cook
Yes.
yet.
Yes. Well, now I do tell people I'm not a good cook because I don't want to. Because if I wanted to, okay, I could be a good cook, right? But I don't want to cook. There's certain things that I want to do. There's some things, and I'm not saying ever. I mean, I do make myself breakfast, which I love. But I've tried a lot of stuff, and some of it I'm like, I don't want to do it again. And that's okay too. But yes, I should stop saying I'm not a good cook because I'm not a bad cook. I just prefer not to cook. I like to eat, and I love when people cook for me. And I love that they cook. Dina, we have 19 teachers tomorrow. And I can't believe I forgot to bring up that promotional card. How did I do that?
Oh my God, I can't believe that you did either.
But that's all right, because I got my screen here. I can show it. Events. Let's see. It's coming up slowly.
We're gonna do another one. We don't have a date yet, but I think in my group, and you have a group. My group is called Nourish and Gather. I'm going to drop some tips in there because taking care of yourself and being empowered, that's nourishment. So I'm going to put some tips in there too.
Oh, I'm trying to show
Thank you, Jessica.
my
Jessica,
events.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Joanne's beautiful review came up. Let me hide that. I'm being shy.
Wait.
There are my upcoming events. So there's the Ask Your Guides Presents a Peaceful Pause tomorrow. And I can click on it and tell you the teachers who are joining us because I have the little list in there. Oh gosh, that's a lot. That's a lot of text, but it's Alejandro, Alan, Brenda, Saraya, Corey Lee Davis, Dolly, Dakota, of course, because Dakota and Matt's going to be doing his amazing music. And I know you people love Matt's music. And you know, Dakota does those amazing animated meditations. I am so excited for that. I can't wait. Don McAvenchi, Jacqueline, Jen Knox, Jill Weston, Joanne, Judy, of course, Matt, Melanie, of course, Nicole, Sam C., and Weston McWhorter. So with the 19 teachers, like I'm excited, so excited. I love those events. So please make sure you join us tomorrow for that. And Melanie, I think I did pull up the card for your next live, though.
My next live is tomorrow night at 7:30. And I have a program in person that is called A Year of Nourishment that I actually do for corporations. And I do it, in person as something, but I wanted to do it here on Insight Timer. And so tomorrow at 7:30 p.m. Eastern time, we're going to focus on how to bring ritual and routine in your life as a way of nourishment. Because one thing I don't love is you need to wake up and drink your warm lemon water and eat two Brazil nuts and meditate for 20 minutes and do yoga for an hour. And then you need to eat your breakfast and then you need to rest and then you need to eat lunch because I feel like that's overwhelming.
Yes.
So I take a different topic every month and do a dive for when I do it here in person, but it's like a brief portion of that on Insight Timer. And last month I did it on rest and it really resonated with people. And I got so much positive feedback because people were like, I never thought about resting in January. It's actually not uncommon. And growing up on a farm, these are the way, you just follow the cycle of nature. So if you're like Blossom Violet is not resting because it's warm there, but here it's cold and you want to like come inward and rest. And building in ritual and routine is a great way to help with anxiety because it helps your body know what to anticipate. And our brains want that.
Yes. And Blossom pointed out, and I want to say, yes, Sam C. is waking up at 3 a.m. to join. He approached me. I didn't invite a lot of people from Australia because I'm thinking, who's going to get up at 3 o'clock in the morning to do this? He approached me. He said, I saw you're doing this live, with all these teachers. I would love to be a part of that. I said, absolutely. You're more than welcome. I had no idea where he was. And then he told me it's 3 a.m. for me, but I want to be there. And I was like, wow, that's awesome. Absolutely. Join us. So yeah, thank you for pointing that out. And I was going to say something else when I forgot from something that you just said, and I forgot. Anyway, it'll come back to me. Yeah,
Well, I
Nikki.
just want to say thank you to you, Violet, for this. This is amazing. I really value you as a friend,
Thank you for suggesting it. Because I have
yeah.
been, oh, that's what I was going to say. I have been hibernating. I have, up until today, I had not left my house in almost 3 weeks for two reasons. I had a bad cold and I wasn't feeling good. And then we had 18 inches of snow, so I wasn't leaving what I lovingly call where I live, Coyote Mountain. So today was the first day that I went out. So I am totally for hibernating in January, and I have enjoyed it tremendously. And thank you for suggesting this because after that conversation, and you were like, we should do this. And I was like, you know what, we should. This is a great topic. It's great to talk to other women and to, there's a lot of stuff that I don't share. I'm starting to do these tracks where I'm sharing things that I never talked about on Insight Timer. And when people will get in touch with me afterwards and be like, wow, I went through this and I totally feel that. And, it was so good to hear that someone else has been through that. That's so empowering. And that's what we want to share with everyone. And it doesn't matter whether you're female or male. Like we said, everyone's invited. We're talking about women, but there's a lot of men out there who have had women empowering women in their life who have done a lot for them. My husband, thank you very much. He needs to know that. And we want to hear about that too. Yeah, thank you all. Go ahead, Melanie.
Oh, no. And I was just agreeing with you. Every man I ever dated did not have a strong father figure in their life. Like my husband's father passed away when he was 9, and they had a heavy influence from their mom. And I think
That
that I'm
explains it.
attracted. Yes, no, it does explain it. I need a person like that in my life. And I think that's just,
And I'm the total opposite. I'm the caregiver. I've taken care of every man that's ever been in my life. I've stopped doing that now with my current husband, and I told him, I said, I am no longer going to be everybody's caregiver, and he's okay with that. He's a good guy, does the best he can. So
Well,
I put up the card for Melanie's live, which is also tomorrow. Melanie's got a very busy day tomorrow.
oh my God. I have class tomorrow that I'm teaching 10 to 1, the peaceful pause from 2 to 4, and then a 7:30 live. And then I have a cooking class I'm teaching Sunday. I don't even remember the time.
I'm already tired for you.
Thank you.
That's a lot. I can't do a lot like that. If I do two lives in one day, and I've done that on occasion, I'm wiped out energetically. So I admire you for being able to do this.
I'm a manifesting generator.
I know you are.
I'm living my life.
And I'm a
Where's
projector.
Kayla Mason? Where's Kayla Mason? Does anybody know?
I haven't seen her in a while.
I love her.
Thank you,
Speaking
Jennifer.
of-
Jennifer says, thank you both. You're amazing women. That's really sweet. And I saw another nice comment here. Where did it go? Flew away.
Kayla Mason, guys, go listen to her tracks, follow her also, and all the other teachers in here. Kayla does amazing stuff on human design.
Yes, and we've done lives with Kayla. And if you go to the link in my teacher's profile, you will see links to everybody, all the other teachers. Oh, I hear my door opening. I think
Okay.
my husband and my dog are home. No, I don't have to rush off. But the door will open, of course, because I have smart technology everywhere. When he enters the driveway, his cell phone sends a signal to the door and it automatically unlocks the door. So I just heard the door automatically unlock, and I'm like, oh, that means they're home. My doggie has been at the dog sitter's playing. Mel says, yes, good for you, Violet. I'm learning to accept help. Yeah, Mel, it's so hard for me to accept help. I will never, well, in the past, would never ask for help. I've gotten better. Now I'm asking for help. But, I still struggle with that. When I was sick for 3 weeks, I was not doing anything. I told my husband, I'm like, you're going to have to go out there and shovel that snow by yourself. I can't help you. I don't feel well. In the past, I would have gone out there sick, and tried to shovel. I was like, no, I'm not doing it. Plus, he has that ATV, right? We don't have to talk about it anymore because he's coming in soon.
Okay.
Christine,
I have to run.
you have to run. Hang on. Christine says, just to recap, a little while ago you said something about it being okay for women to take up space. Yes, absolutely. Yes. And you said you have to run, Melanie.
Within the next couple of minutes.
Yep, that's fine. No, we're gonna end the live now. I'm actually
Oh.
I'm actually starving, so I'm going to go get something to eat that I didn't cook.
Christine asked what we said about how we phrased it about women to take up space.
I forgot. But there's a replay. If you click
yeah.
the link in my teacher's profile, there's a replay. You can go back and see it. My doggie's here. Hello, Onyx.
Christine, are you a teacher? Yeah, Christine is a teacher here on Insight Timer.
Doesn't that I didn't see it on Jennifer.
But she
either.
said I have an ecstatic dance event tomorrow. It's all women coming. Yes. Oh no, it's not on here. Okay, in person.
Oh,
Are you in the
OBS.
UK?
OBS scared me. It said it was disconnecting and reconnecting, and reconnection was successful. Don't mess with me, OBS. What the heck? Never seen it do that.
Oh,
Oh,
awesome. Are
bye.
you a teacher here on Insight Timer, Christine, or no?
Oh no, not on here.
Okay.
Oh, teacher in. Okay, gotcha.
It's amazing. That's going to be fun.
All right, so we'll see you all tomorrow at the Peaceful Pause and at the Year of Nourishment Ritual Routine in the evening, evening for me, whatever time zone you're in. You can click on that card and follow. And we will be talking to all of you again soon. Thanks for joining us.
Bye, everybody. Love you.
Bye-bye.